What is going on, everyone? Welcome into BP Insights. So today at work, there's an interesting approach I was wanting to talk about. So I'm at the counter, and I noticed this attractive woman. She's wearing actually a Michigan jacket too. So easy conversation starter. Here's a tip to you guys out there. The best. Always find things to comment on to start a conversation. If you're at a job, especially if you're at a job too, maybe you don't want to hit on girls at the workplace, but just out in bars, clubs, whatever sort of, any sort of social situation, if you want to talk to a woman, find something to comment on. Like today, there was I work in the Michigan State was playing Washington. I found this girl was wearing a Washington shirt. So I was actually just curious, super attractive girl. I was actually just curious if she was from Washington, if she currently went to school there, shit like that, kind of just ways to comment, to start a conversation. So anything you can do to start a comment, to start a conversation. But anyways, back to the story. So I'm ringing her up, and she's got open body language, open to talking, smiling, kind of flirting back and forth. We're talking about, Michigan, how they used to be Adidas, all that shit, just kind of use it, flirting as the conversation goes. And she's talking about, she's married. I see her wedding ring. She didn't say, I have a boy, my husband. She didn't reference my husband or anything, but she said we're taking a trip to Argentina next week. So, that's always one thing I've kind of noticed. Women that are in a relationship, they will say I have like if I comment like about their shirt they're wearing, say they're wearing like an AC/DC shirt, they'll say, oh, it's my boyfriend. They will, or they'll just say, my boyfriend this, my boyfriend that. They'll find a way, like if they can sense at times you're flirting, they'll reference something about their boyfriend. So that's something I notice. But yeah. I talk about improving your looks. It's crazy how when you improve your looks, how many more women you tend you see just looking at you, making eye contact with you, fixing their hair around you. It's crazy how important getting in the gym, eating right. Eating right is actually huge too, because I notice when you eat right, I'm talking about lean meat, fruits, vegetables, actually stuff you're supposed to put in your body, your face just thins out. Your face just, you don't have grease and shit on your face. Your face just is nice and thin. Your skin clears up. That's one thing I noticed from doing like carnivore diet. I do carnivore diet, but then I eat fruit too. That's what I notice. Your face is just like, your skin is clear. I mean, for the most part, you will get probably a few, zits once in a while, but your face is clear. I mean, it's crazy. So yeah, I was bummed out that she was married. I noticed that a lot of married women tend to be a lot more feminine, or at least women that have a ring on their finger tend to be more feminine. I know this women, not to come at all women that aren't married, but a lot of them do tend to have some bad attitudes. They just do seem to be, there's something a little off. Like there's this older woman today, and she's talking about how she fucking had diarrhea, and I'm just like, and she's showing up late. Like we have this little contest at work. She's showing up fucking late for the contest too. So I'm thinking, there's strikes 1 and 2 as far as, just being a pain and, doing things that turn off men. So that's what I'm thinking in my head. And, some women, they just don't, not that it makes them a bad person, a shitty human being, but they just don't really understand the numerous things they're doing to turn men off. And that's just one example. I could go on all day, but that's just one. It's like, why the fuck would you ever tell, not just your significant other, but why would you tell someone you just met that you have fucking diarrhea? I'm just thinking, that's the kind of shit, and I already, after she told me that, I didn't even need to look. I already knew, but she didn't have a wedding ring on. I already knew she was probably most likely single. But yeah, it's just kind of shit like that turns men off. And just showing up late. The funny thing about this, I don't want to go too deep around this rabbit hole talking about this lady, but what's funny is she said yesterday, she came in mad yesterday, and she said she'd never come back to the store, and she comes back. Yeah, it just goes to show that, that goes to show that, trust, watch what a woman does, not what she says. That's the thing. Some women will say, I fucking hate your guts. But the man that they say that to, he texts them at 2 a.m. Who guess whose doorstep she's showing up at? Watch what she does, not what she says. That goes to like the girl I got the number at my work that said I was super attractive. She's super attractive, flirtation, all that shit. I text her. What happens when I text her? Not down to meet out, You know how that goes. Watch what she does, not what she says. So yeah. Just kind of wanted to touch on that. So what else do we want to get into here? So we could go numerous different ways. So I noticed that one thing I've really noticed is, hang on, I'm going to have to turn off my TV. One thing I've noticed is a lot of women that stay single tend to be the women that are, especially the girls in the 18 to 21 range that tend to be single, tend to be the ones that visit bars and clubs frequently, don't have the best attitude, maybe a little bit more masculine, piercings up and down their ears, tattoos. They don't have all these things, but they at least have at least two of those 4 that I just mentioned, and they tend to overvalue themselves. And see, kind of what the problem in the dating market is. Those women can get attention from Division I athletes, even sometimes pro athletes and celebrities at times, but they're not really all that super attractive. Yesterday I did an experiment. So working at a retail store in a fairly large city, you kind of get you kind of do get a lot of, in a primary women's store, you kind of get a good gauge of, because I wanted to count to see how many 8s, 9s, 7s, 8s, 9s came into the store. And there was only about 4 8s that came into the store that I counted. Now, that's different from person to person, but I think my scale is pretty realistic. I'm not too high, I'm not too low, so I kind of trust my scale. But what I've tended to notice is one of the 4 8s that came in had a boyfriend. So what I've tended to notice, and she didn't have any piercings or tattoos, so what I've tended to notice is those women tend to be the more feminine. They tend to, and she seemed more, those women tend to be more, feminine, and they tend to be, because ideally women want relationships. So, and the guy he looked like a pretty good looking, confident dude. And that's the thing about a lot of those 7s, the guy that they want, sure, he wants them, maybe to hook up, but it's not necessarily, doesn't always, he's kind of, maybe on the fence as far as a long-term relationship. That's the problem that a lot of 7s have. But sevens are interesting because, there's, because ideally that's what a lot of dating coaches, that's probably what a lot of men ideally should go for is 7s. Maybe even you can argue 6s too, but sometimes guys, 6s are not attractive enough for most guys. 7s probably ideally are the best to go for them, but there's just a wide range of 7s. 8s usually can get a high value, good quality guy. Some 8s kind of in the same boat as 7s. Sometimes probably a lot of times their values overinflated because they're getting attention from D1 athletes, pro athletes. But yeah, 7s are kind of in a wide range of variety in the sense that you got some that they kind of just are very promiscuous, going to bars and clubs. Maybe they don't have super high standards, but they are just down to hook up with, usually just mostly attractive dudes, but sometimes, a Division I athlete. And then there's some 7s that they can't get a relationship from a high value guy, Division I athlete, but they only hook up with those guys. So it's kind of interesting how, they have that, and then there's some that are the ones that are feminine, good in a relationship. They tend to actually, I think, a decent amount of times get with a guy that he definitely is, because they want guys a few points higher. They get with a guy that is a few points higher, that is, they kind of get lucky, get a guy that is exclusively looking for a relationship, and they are just a really good girlfriend, even though that guy in their mind, they're not the best, probably the best he could do, but he chooses to hang out with her just because, maybe she can cook, she's feminine, she's submissive, she's just a really good all-around girlfriend. She's all on his team. She's all for him. So that's why a lot of these 7s can get, high-quality guy. And that's the thing with women. They want guys that are better than them, at least 2-3 points higher. But what's interesting about women is they don't want guys that are too much better than them, because that's where they get thrown off a little bit. They do not want guys that are several points higher. Because that's when they really question, what is the dude doing? Why is he going to get with me? Why is he, what is this? Then it also raises a question in the dude, like, does this guy not get girls if he has to dip so much lower to try to get me? Does he not get girls? So. And then we were having this discussion the other night. I was on Darius M's podcast. We were talking about super attractive girls, about why a lot of times you get their number. If they're not interested, you just won't get any text back. Like, they won't even text you back, pretend to like you, go on a date even if they don't like you. And Darius had a good response to why they do this, and I think this probably makes the most sense. Is he just thinks, in their mind, they just think they're that much better than you. Not taking a shot at me, but just that's their thinking, is they're so much better than you that they'll use that notification as an ego boost. This has happened to me a couple times, and the girls were, and that's the thing. These girls they probably were 8s. That's the thing. I don't know what people rate me. I think I'm a fairly good looking guy, but say that, I don't know. Let's just hypothetically say I'm an 8. I thought they were 8s, and I don't see a lot of 8s. That's why I was shooting my shot with these girls. But in their mind, they could think they're a 10. So in reality, that's 2 points higher in their mind. So that's probably the explanation for why they thought that they were so much better than me. Because that goes back to what I was just talking about. Women want guys who are 2 points higher. In their mind, they thought I was 2 points lower. So that's just kind of how sometimes women can see it. But that's the thing, where a guy will hook up with a girl who probably, maybe overweight, not the best looking, maybe a 3-4. Guy will hook up a guy that's maybe a 7, even 8. Guy that's an 8 on the look scale will hook up with her. But in her mind, she thinks, her inflated ego thinks she's a 6 or 7. So in reality, she's actually closer to the guy in her mind than she thinks. So it's kind of interesting how the scale kind of works like that. But yeah, it's and then the other thing I want to touch on, women are always talking to multiple guys. I lived in that delusion for so long that sometimes maybe there is just some girls that aren't talking to one or multiple guys, but that is so far from the truth. They're always talking to one guy. And I remember this. So this girl that I used to work with, she was telling me, she was single for a week, and she was telling me in a week or two span just how many guys just at random times hitting on her. At the gym, hey, can I have your snap? Driving down the road, hey, can I get your snap? It just, how many times girls would just get hit on, and you think, and she's talking, and it's just like, that's the thing, an attractive girl, say she has a route of school, work, gym, you think 3 places, you're probably, obviously there's going to be other people around, but you're probably not going to get hit on as much. So school, work, gym. But in a week, 2 week span, that could be, 10, 20 guys hit on her in person. You got to think all the dudes that she's talking to on dating apps. You got to think, boyfriends she used to date, guys she used to hook up with, hitting her up. Guys in the Instagram DM. So you add it all up, even if she's not attracted to any of those guys, that's still new guys she's talking to daily. Some guys that, some guy just beta male, guys that she's leading on, text buddies, whatever. Beta male orbiters is the term, and then guys that she's hooking up with, guys that she sees as a relationship, guys she just got their number, she doesn't really know. Well, she knows, but she's kind of like, I don't know. Just I guess the point is, a lot of times it's guys that she's using for attention, guys that she'll use for free food, guys that she'll use for rides, guys that donate to her OnlyFans so often that she's going to have to text them just a couple times just to keep them happy, just to feed the, sprinkle a little cheese for the mouse just to keep the drug addiction going. So it's just kind of stuff like that, But yeah, I wanted to touch on the story. So there's another girl I work with, and there was this dude, a little bit of a chubby dude, college age. He's probably, 18, 19. He might have been 20, probably 18, 19. I assume he was a freshman. But yeah, he's flirting with the girl I work with at the counter. And I'm thinking that, men don't always judge other guys off based on, how they look. Maybe sometimes, but it's probably not as frequent as women. So I'm thinking, that's cool. I like the confidence. I like that he can hold a conversation. That's key. But I asked afterwards, did he ask for your number? And she said no. And I said, would you have given her a number? She's like, are you kidding me? It's just like, and that's when, I'll tell you what, the goal as a man is to become a savage, but that's really when the light bulb went above my head. And I don't know why that was when the switch really flipped. I guess you could argue I had kind of understood this a long time ago, but that's when I really knew how savage women are. You think that men are always referred to as savage, like that dude's savage. Look at how many times he scored. Look at how many touchdowns he scored. That dude's a savage. Look at that big hit he just made. You talk about football players being savage. You talk about David Goggins being savage, Joe Rogan being a savage. The workouts they do, the amount of hours they put into podcasting. But want to talk about real savages, it's women. They don't give a shit. They don't give a shit if you've been rejected 20 times. They really don't care. They don't care. Even sometimes you could hand them $1,000. You can hand them $1,000 if you're unattractive. They will just, they probably won't even take your money. Some prostitutes, Darius, speaking of Darius M, he was telling the story. There's some prostitutes, they just don't want to deal with these guys. They don't want to have sex with these guys so bad. They don't even want their fucking money. Like if you're one of those guys, then, may God spark some sort of discipline in your life to be better, whether that's hit the gym harder, do what you need to do to improve your social skills your skills with women. But yeah, kind of rambling here, but yeah, just, the savage women are, it's, you just kind of have to adapt. But that's kind of women being savage is kind of a cool thing in the sense that you got to think about it this way. There's times you're like, you could be 0 for 20 with women. The 21st woman, she doesn't give a shit how many times you've been rejected. It's a new woman. She does not care. They don't care. But they also, I guess the counter argument to that is you can approach a woman, you could be 2 for 2 and you can approach a woman and she doesn't give a shit about that. For the most part, obviously if she knew that, she probably would, if she was able to know that somewhat without, you telling her directly, because if you tell her directly, that'll kind of turn her off because it's just kind of weird. If you tell her that she was you're 2 for 2, but if she knew that somehow, then she probably, I guess that would help a little bit, but for the most part, she doesn't really give a shit. If you're 2 for 2, if you're 0 for 16, if you're 0 for 30, 0 for 50, they don't really give a shit. It's all about, do they find you attractive, number one, and do you have some sort of confidence, charisma, and can you lead, and can you set up a date and actually be a normal human being who can escalate and have a good date and escalate and lead things on and be good in the bedroom. So that's really, if you want to boil things down, it's really all about, okay, like today, for example, I didn't ask for this girl's number. I thought she was fairly cool. I couldn't really see her. I don't know if she necessarily liked me. She had open body language. I'm talking about the first girl with the washed shirt. She had open body language. I think she thought I was attractive. I saw her looking at me. But let's say hypothetically, I set a date. I was able to get her number, go on a date, and hang out with her afterwards. Ideally, how that would have went down is, okay, I made the comment. She seemed interested somewhat, open body language. I would ask for a number, get the number, boom. Hey, this is Brant from so-and-so. Set up the date. On the date, you just want to, you don't, I hate when people say be yourself, but on the date, you just want to, I would start out just, kind of with a little bit of small talk, a little bit to get to know you. And then midway to the end of the day, I would start to kind of escalate topics. I would really escalate the flirting, try to build some sexual tension. And then at the end, if you can get a flirty, some touching, a hug, and then find a way to, and then just ask, in a way that just seems like she wouldn't say no, like it's just like a no brainer that she would go back to your place. Like, you're having such a good time, the vibe is such a good flirtation that it's just absolutely a yes, that she's down to go back, and even if you don't hook up, just continue the flirty vibe, hugging and even making out and stuff like that. So ideally, that's kind of how you always want to be moving things forward. I think that's the thing guys don't realize. Too many guys are, let's say hypothetically I was a dork. Or you could argue I played it like a dork because I didn't ask for the number. But let's say hypothetically I played it like an extreme dork after getting the number. So I get the number and I would text her for 2 days about a bunch of random bullshit that goes nowhere. And she just, not necessarily probably, if she's super into you, she might not lose interest, but still, it's it's number one, you're wasting time that you could have spent on your purpose at the gym, working more hours. So you're wasting time, and you are, putting the chance that she gets turned off. And then also during that time, odds are she's talking to, she already is talking to other guys. Other guys could have jumped you on the list, because that's, so there's just a lot of things that can go wrong. And that's the other thing I talked about the other night. You want to become a woman's best option. That's the thing. That Darius M talks about that. We discussed this a little bit. That's probably the most if there's any underrated thing in dating, it's that men don't become women's best option. And that's the thing, how that raises the question, how to become a woman's best option. Well, you have to be a man that most women respect. Either you're in shape, have status, have money, 2 of the 3 or 3 of the 3. You have to be confident. You have to have charisma. You have to be able to lead interactions. You have to assume attraction. You have to be able to recognize interest and indicators of disinterest. So I know that sounds like a lot, but those are things where if you're on point when things are just on point, those things kind of become more of a flow as opposed to overthinking. So that's the thing, when you're really on point with those things just start to happen more. Those things become more of a flow, and more women, once they see that all those things are kind of in order, then that's how you get bumped up up the list and become a woman's best option. Because that's the thing, when you're a woman's best option, there is no flakes, there's no BS, there's no dates that just turn into free food. I gotta go home now. It's stuff that's when things just are smooth. That is ideally the way things are supposed to be with a woman. Moving things forward. It's fun. It's an easy flow. It's just like, that's the thing. Ideally, you want to meet a girl. I kind of had this aha moment today. I was thinking about, there's times I'm just like too fixated on, do I think she's attractive, and do I have just enough the courage to ask for the number? But kind of the next level game that's happening with me is now, okay, she's attractive. Okay, she seems somewhat interested. Okay, no, do I actually like her? There's some girls I talk to, they're just kind of weird, and I'm almost like, yeah, she's attractive, but I think I'm gonna pass. Like, and pass in the sense I'm not gonna ask for the number. So that's the thing. You kind of have to. That's the problem with a lot of beginners, and I fell into this trap. And that's when you talk to more and more women, you're going to kind of this is kind of going to understand. You're going to understand this. You're kind of vetting the women too. It's not just, I know men are the main pursuers, but you're also vetting the women to see if she's cool. Can you vibe with her? Do you think she'd be? Can you tell is she actually a feminine woman? Is she nice? Is she friendly? Is she nice to others? You're kind of vetting these things as well too. You are evaluating too. Men have to do some scouting as well. You got to filter. That's kind of what dating. If you really want to boil dating down, that's really what it is. You're really filtering for things you like, and just immediately, and I'm talking about immediately getting rid of and moving on. I say getting rid, that's a little harsh, but you're immediately moving forward, talking to other women. Once women that you're talking to have red flags or things you don't like. Like, say you just don't like women who, I don't even know. Say you just don't want, you really, nothing against them, but you say you just don't want a woman that can't cook. So immediately, once you start hanging out with her, you realize she can't cook, or if she does, it's just, horrendous. You immediately just move on. There's no, oh, well, she's really nice, or, oh, well, she likes my dog, so let's stay with her. No, that's a strong deal breaker that you have, so don't make an exception for her just because of other reasons. If you really want a woman that can cook, have the belief in the abundance mindset that you can find a woman that likes your dog too and that can cook. So yeah, point back to the point, it is it's a filtering process. You're always vetting women. You're always seeing which women are good fits. And all right, so we just got about a minute left here. Let's talk about women, bars and clubs. So ideally, what you want to do at bars and clubs is you want to start approaching women right away. And you want to get into like a flow. You want to just keep talking to women. See, what's interesting about bars and clubs is there's times where, getting into a flow is great and all, but it can kind of come across when you're just talking to a lot of women the whole night, girl to girl, you kind of just come off, give just that desperate, needy vibe. But when you kind of go with the mindset, I don't really, I'm just going to hang out with the boys and chill, that's when you tend to know you have when you get more choosing signals, women looking at you, which is very interesting. And those are actually the nights you probably have a chance to pick up the most women, get the most numbers. But those nights, it's funny, like I've said this, women a lot of times can sense when your mind is on other things, but when your mind is on anything else other than women. Like I remember, I'll never forget, there was this one night at the bar, and I was just, we got our drinks, we're just hanging out on the dance floor, and it's not that I didn't want to talk to women at all. I was just kind of focused on drinking my drink and chilling, and this girl was just like, she was dancing with her friends, and she just kept jumping back and bumping into me, like trying to get my attention so bad. And, that's happened at the gym before too, This girl was just like doing a workout right in front of me. It's funny. It just, it goes to the point, women can tell when your mind is on, it's just about anything else other than women. And that's the thing, that's kind of how my mind is. When my mind is on something other than women, women is like the last thing on my mind. And it's weird how they can sense that. It's very, very interesting. But yeah, guys, I'm going to wrap with that. Thanks for tuning in to BP Insights. Stay tuned for more episodes and clips from the show.